In the world of the London heritage scene, there's currently a bit of a ruckus, possibly even, dare I say it, a kerfuffle. A sleeping giant of sorts has reawakened. Evil stalks the land. Well, not so much evil as just sort of crassness. Let me explain. There is at present a scheme to redevelop Liverpool Street Station. There's a website about it which gives some of the details, but not all of them. The developers, named Seller, highlight a number of issues with Liverpool Street as it stands. These are overcrowding, a lack of accessibility, a lack of connectivity, and inadequate retail space. They propose to address all of these issues with a massive upgrade program. This will be done with the utmost respect for the Grade 2 listed station and the Grade 2 star hotel next door. And this will all be done at no cost to the taxpayer or to passengers. Well, that sounds absolutely perfect. Nothing to see here. Let's let them do whatever they want to do. Well, no. You see, the plan is to stick a giant block on top consisting of offices and a hotel. And what an exciting thing it is, really. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but no, I genuinely am really excited by this rectangular steel and glass block type thing. It's not like we have any of those in London already. So imaginative, where do you get your ideas, etc., etc. They keep doing this sort of thing. Back in the 70s there was a plan to bulldoze Liverpool Street altogether, resulting in the formation of the Liverpool Street Station Campaign, or Liska, under the presidency of John Benjamin in 1974, to oppose this destruction. This organisation has now been revived, with Griff Rhys-Jones being made president. Liska were successful in the 70s. In 1980, another plan was hatched to demolish the arcade. Again defeated, and now they're at it again. Well, it's a different they this time, but nevertheless, they, the powers that be, are at it again. Seller have carried out a consultation with the public on the plans. Now, I have to say, based upon personal experience, I'm a little sceptical about these consultations. Alright, it's Jago's story time. Some time ago, I was invited, for some reason, to a consultation on the redevelopment of a major site in London. We were divided into groups, each one including a representative of the developers. We gave our opinions on what would be desirable in such a new community. I stated that, among other things, what is needed in London is genuinely affordable housing, and this is the best way to encourage the organic growth of a community. When it came to feed our discussions back to the group, the representative repeated everything we'd said, except the thing about affordability. It is my personal opinion that public consultations are there to simply give the illusion that the developers care, but the results can be manipulated to give whatever outcome suits the developer best. On Seller's website they make much of the fact that people want better accessibility, sustainability, etc., etc., all things they promise. What they do not quote is the public opinion on topping Liverpool Street off with a building apparently designed by someone who had never seen Liverpool Street. I would be interested to hear the answers to that question, if it was even asked. Now don't get me wrong, I am not opposed to improvements to stations, nor am I opposed to modern architecture. I have said in the past that I think King's Cross is an excellent example of how it can be done right. The new development does what needs to be done, but it's also discreet. The Victorian frontage of King's Cross is undisturbed. Indeed, by clearing the clutter at the front, the station's face looks rather better than it possibly ever has looked. That is not what Seller are delivering for Liverpool Street. Rather, we're looking at something more akin to Cannon Street or Charing Cross, where a modern building has been crudely plonked on top of and overwhelms the Victorian original. Not so, argue Seller. This will be done with the utmost respect for the station's heritage. 1980s alterations by British Rail will be stripped out to make more of the Victorian interior publicly accessible. The train shed will be preserved. Nevertheless, I don't think you can put a giant cube on top of a Victorian station and claim you're respecting its heritage. I mean, I've never looked at Liverpool Street Station and thought, well, this is all very nice, but what it really needs is a giant tower block on top. That's just what original architect Edward Wilson would have done if he'd had the budget. The renders show that the interior of the station will be filled with pillars, and the original architecture will be partially obscured. So basically, it seems like the developers are being pretty bare minimum about respecting the heritage. Frankly, I find this quite worrying as a precedent. Both the station and the hotel are, as I said, listed. If this development is approved, it raises the question of what listing actually means. Why list a building if you can mess around with it as much as you like, provided you have the money? Putting aside questions of heritage, I would question how much all of this is needed. Now, I acknowledge that Liverpool Street is a crowded station and its accessibility for mobility-impaired passengers could certainly stand to be better. So change is good. But the developers also intend to make this place a destination. So they intend to reduce overcrowding, but also to encourage more crowds. I do not understand how this is all supposed to work. The question of retail space is a nonsense to me. A station is a station, it's not a shopping mall. Improved retail space is not a priority. Then there's the building itself. Skeptics have pointed out that putting a giant building on top of Liverpool Street Station is far cheaper than buying land elsewhere in the area, and the cost of upgrading the station will only be a fraction of the overall cost of the development. I would also ask, do we really need more offices and hotels in the city? London is not short of office space, and there are new buildings going up all the time. Nor does the City of London need the economic boost this is supposedly going to provide. If that's your aim, why not take it somewhere else in the country where they actually do need that boost? That's if new offices are needed at all. Despite what property owners and their stooges in government hoped following the decline of the pandemic, working from home has become increasingly popular. It makes a lot of sense. Why rent a huge office for your company when you can rent a small one and have people work remotely? There are many companies that don't even have an office at all, just a postal address. New office buildings are starting to feel like the steel and glass equivalent of NFTs, something that is considered valuable only because the people who own them believe they are valuable. They keep trying to do terrible things to Liverpool Street, and it keeps getting knocked back. Whether it happens again this time, I don't know. What I do know is that this is not something being done for the benefit of you or me, and in the long term, I don't think it will benefit anyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, opinionated and bad-tempered though I admit it was. If you did enjoy it, please do click the like button and consider subscribing for more. Here's a bingo card I made for looking at the websites for redevelopment projects, because they are so repetitive. Do with it as you will. I would like, as always, to thank my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon, and here on YouTube. You are the John Betjeman to my Victorian architecture. And I will see you all again very soon. Cheerio.